man to my left really needs no introduction. If you're a fan of movies, if you've seen Bronx Tale, you know the role. You know, you could probably recite some of the scenes yourself. If you watch Sopranos, one of the best shows ever created, one of my favorite shows, you know this man. He's had some ups and downs, but he's here, and he's still standing. He talked about his plight and how he's going well and doing things on a different route now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Non-Film Lounge, Mr. Lillo Brancato. What's going on, sir?
How's it going? Thank you.
It's going good, man. We appreciate you coming.
Sorry about no clap, man.
Don't. No.
Our sense of humor is a little crazy if you haven't picked it up yet.
You just didn't hear it. It was there.
Oh, my
But
bad.
Lillo, thanks again for coming to the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
It's I don't know where to start, man. I mean, in your capsule of years, you've had such, roller coaster ups and downs, but you're on an up now. But I think I want to start just from the beginning. You came into what you just mentioned offline with A Bronx Tale, a movie that your guys felt like wasn't going to be maybe a big hit, and it became almost a cult classic. Talk about working with De Niro and Chaz, Palminteri, and all those big-time actors as a young actor getting started.
Now looking back in hindsight, I should have appreciated the experience a little bit more. But at 16 years old, you can't really fully comprehend what it is. I mean, De Niro was always my idol. Because since a young age, people would tell me, "Oh, you look like Robert De Niro."
Yeah, you do.
And then, hearing that so many times, I said, you know what? I may as well start watching his movies.
You talking to me?
Yeah. And then I loved his movies, and I said, "Wow, this guy's really great." And I would, do scenes with my brother and stuff like that. And and then that one day on the beach, July 5th, 1992, the Bronx Tale. They were casting A Bronx Tale. And they were looking for actors with no previous experience. Right. They wanted real, authentic people to make the movie, real as possible. Yeah. And I was there on the beach that day, and there was a casting scout. His name was Marco Greco, and he was just handing out flyers. Wow. And my brother came and got me in the water because he told the guy,
So you were just hanging out. You didn't looking to do this.
No, not at all.
Wow.
It was summer vacation. Summer vacation just started. I had heard about the film. Right. I had heard, different kids in the neighborhood. Oh, De Niro was making a movie, and they're looking for a kid to play the son. And you hear Jerry has the part because they're using his aunt's store in the movie. All this other.
Right.
Yeah, but I heard like 30 different kids had the part. So yeah. So I didn't really even think that I had a shot because
nobody filled.
Jerry got the part.
Got it right.
So. And then that day, my brother said, Lee, come here. He said, the guy you remember that movie, the De Niro movie? He's here. He wants to meet you. I told him you look just like him. So I met the guy, and he was like, wow, yeah, you do look like him. And I remember,
like him there too.
I knew that was my shot too. Because I watched all his movies. I knew all the lines. So I said, I didn't do that for nothing.
Right.
So that was it right there and then. I started doing, different impersonations.
Was it hard memorizing the lines? I mean, even though was that your first time ever acting in front of a camera?
Yeah. Some scenes, they would have a big monologue of dialogue, a lot of dialogue. But some scenes, you'd go there to work one day, and the only scene you're in is scene 6A, right. And that may be just pulling in the driveway and saying, "Hey, where are you going?" So that's the extent of your work for that day. But then you go the next day and you got 3 scenes with 5 pages of dialogue. Right. So some days,
Right.
So you go from hanging out in the pool, you in the beach, in the water, getting cool summertime, to working with Robert De Niro. How does life change? I mean, you Yonkers guy, Yonkers kid, born and bred. And life changes after that. I gotta believe it's just you go from in the beach to like now on red carpets.
Yeah, it didn't. I mean, it changed as we were doing the film, but the real profound change happened when the movie was released, and Robert De Niro came to my house a few months prior to the release of the film to warn me about that exact thing. To tell me, Lillo, like, I don't know if you know what's going to happen, but when this movie's released, your whole life is going to change overnight. And he wasn't kidding. I think he understated what it was really going to be. You know, you got relatives that you never heard of, like that guy we
Like
just
that
saw.
guy Vinny.
No, but really, it's real.
Right.
It's real. You got people calling, oh, you
Right.
remember me, Uncle so-and-so. I mean, the phone call, you know, you go, I mean, just back in 92, you got the answering machine. You have 48 messages. You went out, you know, for a half hour, you know.
If it was social media back then, oh my goodness.
So, you know, it definitely changed, and you got people coming at you from, you know, all angles. And, you know, my parents are immigrant Italians, my adopted parents. And, you know, they didn't have any experience in this business, in the entertainment business, or even, you know, with drugs and, you know, how to look out for signs and things that were, you know, going to happen in your life. So they didn't know how to warn me about these dangers, these things that were going to happen in my life now. And, you know, I just took it as it came. And then I was, after the Bronx Tale, I went to do Renaissance Man in Los Angeles.
Right.
And,
That was
you
with
know,
Danny DeVito.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg,
Right, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Stacey Dash. So, you know, when you're out there, you know, so much drugs everywhere out there. And here you are, 17 years old, wet behind the ears, and, you know, you got a big movie out in the theater. And, you know, here you are in this, like, you know, Hollywood Hills in some mansion, and everyone wants to be your friend. You're the kid from the Bronx Tale, you know. And, hey, try this, you know, people sniffing cocaine and doing all these drugs. And then you see, like, this is what sticks in my mind. I remember one of the first times I was at one of these parties in the hills. I remember seeing the owner. The guy looked like a $1 million suit, the watch. He had the big house, and, you know, he was sniffing cocaine. And I'm like, you know, how bad could it be if this guy has all of this and he's doing that?
Yeah.
And that's, for some reason, that stuck in my mind. So I just didn't think twice. I said, you know, it can't be that bad.
Just nature of the beast, right?
Right. And, you know, early on, I started doing that. And, you know, it's just, you know, like, you know, everyone's wired differently. I happen to be wired where I have a very addictive personality, which I didn't know, you know, back then.
Of course.
And that, you know, the disease of, you know, the addiction, it just progressed over the years. I mean, I worked, but I could have worked more, and I didn't appreciate the opportunities as much as I should have because my mind was clouded, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And then, you know, the narcotic pain medication, and then, you know, the heroin, the crack.
And then the enablers, everybody wants to be with you.
Yeah.
Sapphire?
I'm just listening because as I was telling you before we started that I was doing my research and just really always like to know the person behind the screen that people see and trying to get bits. So I realized that your story is similar to a lot of other young actors and actresses that start the business at 13 and 14 and 15 and 16, where they're coming in and they don't have that person to kind of pull their coattails a little bit and say, listen, you may be in this environment, but I'm going to help and I'm going to make sure I pull you back or keep you steady. And we've seen that, you know, throughout the time, how, you know, being in that environment of drugs and addiction and certain things that could kind of pull you away from what you want to do is so evident. And it's out there, and it's not talked about a lot. And then you don't realize when you start to see, you know, favorite shows and TVs, you're like, hey, where's that person? And it's almost the same line a little bit. You know, I was in an environment, you know, of the age of the cocaine and the sniffing and this, that, and the third, and I thought it was okay because everybody that has money was doing it, and it seemed like the norm. So I went ahead and tried it. And it's been a pattern throughout Hollywood that no one talks about, that no one brings it up, that a lot of young, talented stars get pulled into this, and it's so hard to pull them out so that they can continue to have a fantastic career. And I'm glad that you brought it up and you're able to speak about it without being in shame or embarrassed to say, hey, you know, I was in this environment, you know, I got addicted to it, you know, my life is totally different and I want something positive. But you're bringing this to light, and I find that this is very important because somebody right now that's 16 or 17 that's out there and they're doing their stuff, their commercials, and they haven't been in that environment yet. And
Yeah, we just saw that with what's the girl who's date Beaver? She had some issues and she came out. What's her name? Selena, yes, Selena Gomez, and she mentioned about just some of the challenges that she's going through. So you know, it is amazing. But to Sapphire's point, did you have a go-to, like after the movie dropped, was De Niro still available to you, or just once Brontail was gone, you went your way, he went his way?
Yeah, he was still available to me, but you know, I always saw that as, you know, this guy's probably so busy, and you know, he gave me the opportunity. I wasn't like, you know, I'm still not the type that would call him and, hey, hey, Bob.
Right. New York guy.
I called him, wish him a happy birthday and things like that. But not, hey, Bob, I hear you're doing another
I'm glad
movie.
you did that, because me and him don't do that.
Exactly.
Well, maybe I should have.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have. Maybe, looking back
20/20 hindsight. Yeah.
Maybe I should have. Maybe he could have guided me, because obviously he's got the experience where I lacked.
Right.
Now, when you went out to L.A. for your first time to Renaissance Man or whatever, did you have somebody out there with you, or you had a team with you, or it was just you out there in a mansion in the hills?
No, it was my dad was out there, but my dad's, an immigrant from Sicily who was a builder who barely spoke English. Had a construction company, but came out there with me because the only way I was allowed to go out there, because I was under 18, was with the chaperone. So my dad sacrificed what he was doing to give me the opportunity to do what I love and come out there with me. But, here's this guy, like by 9, 10 o'clock at night, he's sleeping. He'd come out to dinner, we get some pasta, and then he goes to sleep. And then I'm out, with, here and there.
They call that the itis.
The Naked City, yeah. I mean, doing some things. So the introduction to drugs really happened during this time in L.A.
Yeah.
I mean, during Bronx Tale, I remember I started smoking, weed and stuff like that. Right. And, that's a gateway drug, and it can definitely lead to bad things. So I am by no means saying that marijuana is okay, because it's not. Nothing is okay. You stand on your own 2 feet. But it's when I went to L.A. is when I saw the harder drugs, much more readily available. Right. And that's when I indulged.
Well, that's the
drug.
That's the drug of choice. Cocaine in L.A. That only. If you had money, if people indulged, that was the drug, basically.
Right. And you're still a young actor, because, again, the Bronx Tale kind of just happened. So when you go, do Renaissance, you're still learning. So are these things you're doing on set, or like this is like, well, you know what, I'm going to focus, do what I do, and then, after we're done filming, then I indulge? What was it a balance of both, on camera and off camera?
The opportunity came so easily that I took it for granted, that I really didn't care. You know what I mean? I just should have, if I were to have those opportunities now with the experience and the wisdom that I've acquired over the years, I would have done things so much differently. But you know what? You can't do that in life.
Exactly.
And I'm trying to create the opportunities now, and thank God things are, starting to go well for me.
Right.
But it happened so easily. It's just like, you know what? This is always going to happen to me.
Right.
It just felt like it was meant to be.
The norm.
I was on the beach. I got the part, and here I am.
Right.
You felt like you're just going to keep happening.
On top of the world. You went from Yonkers to L.A. It's like, who
does
that?
What I mean? So it's like, and little did I realize it's nothing like that. I was given the opportunity of a lifetime, and then I should have treated it like that, and I didn't.
Right.
So.
No doubt.
Well, the great thing about life sometimes, unfortunately, we have our goods and we have our bads. And, we can always go back and say what I could have did and what I wish and what I, could have changed. The great thing is like Kev said, you're still in your young days and you still have time to live the rest of your days turning that story all the way around and doing positive things, which you have been, doing a lot of great positive things, just sharing your story, and get it out there. But always remember that, what you feel may have been the downtime for you, or the negative and the drugs and getting in trouble and doing time is positive for someone else. You know what I mean? And we forget that, our negative is someone else's positive. And that's what makes us a species, a great species, because we're able to, use your story. Like I have watchers out right now, and it's like, wow, to be able to just be on the beach and just a young kid just enjoying his day and look like someone to be able to have an opportunity, as big and go ahead and do it. There's someone that wish they could just have one day to just have one line in something. Right. You know what I mean? And to say, wow, I never had an experience and I got seen and I was able to work around people that people love and admire and sit home and watch. I'm even like in awe, right. I'm not, in awe of, okay, you got caught up and you was around, the drugs and the scene and it kind of drew you in. I'm just in awe of like, wow, anything is possible. Your story is showing someone that anything is possible at any given time.
And you're working with major names, because from Bronson and around, you go to Crimson Tide, Denzel Washington. So,
right.
even through the the adversities you was going through personally, you was still
was
actively working.
Still
Right.
And really
Yeah.
continue to build the Brancato brand. So, it wasn't, I guess, a non-functioning situation. You were still able to move and hang out. It was probably still more recreational.
Right. It didn't. It started becoming a real issue in the early 2000s. I was doing so much cocaine. I was in a car one night with my friends, and you're familiar with what cocaine psychosis is?
Yes.
When you become paranoid. Not everyone gets like that, but I'm one of the people that get like that. And I'd done so much that day, and I remember I was in the car with my friends, and I was like, I thought these guys were going to kill me because my mind was like that. And I said, it just seemed like the way they were looking at me, and I got scared. So I said, you know what? I'm going to jump out of this car. They were doing 60 miles an hour. Jumped out of the car. If I wasn't drunk and as messed up as I was, my body wouldn't have went with it, and I would have just broke my neck and died.
Right.
But I got, I got my head was all, my head was all messed up. I scraped my whole back up. I got road burn. I was really bad shape, and then I ended up getting staph infection in my head.
Oh, wow.
And it was then when I was introduced to the narcotic pain medication, when the doctor was giving me a legitimate reason, and like one. But then one wouldn't work, so my addictive nature, I went to 3, and then I was like, oh wow, this feels good. And I remember I just used to sit in my room and smoke cigarettes and take pills, and I'm like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
No, like the cocaine, you get all weird and you come down, and this stuff is like you don't
Pop
get
a
weird,
pill
you
and
just
yeah,
relax,
yeah.
or you go
relax
eat,
and
you
then
go to
Up
sleep
there
when you want.
all day.
I was like, so then before you know it, time goes on. I got a almost 60 pill a day habit.
Wow.
And then I couldn't get the pills anymore. And then I went to the heroin. And from the cocaine, I went to the crack. I met some girl. She didn't want to be with me anymore. She was going to medical school. Her father and I became friends. The only reason I became friends with him was because it was a reason for me to go by the house and see the girl that I loved.
Yeah, of course.
And then on, the fateful night of December 10th, 2005, we went to burglarize a
Not too far from where we're having a conversation.
burglarize an apartment in the Bronx, in Pelham Bay. And I don't want to go over step by step, but what happened was a New York City police officer came outside. We didn't know till later on. He never identified himself.
Well, before you go into that, Lillo, we go and just having this conversation with Lillo Brancato. I want to take a quick break.
Sure.
Again, we're giving you this information. We can go a lot of ways with this, but this is real. Like we're saying, we're bringing Lillo Brancato here to talk about the beginning, the downfall, and now the triumph. It's 9 Lounge live on a Saturday morning. Don't go nowhere. We're back on the ride, 9 Lounge live on a Saturday morning. Again, broadcasting over multiple networks, DSN, WRN, 1620 Urban Classics. Thank you for that. Q, what's going on in Chicago? I see you on the chat. And we're chopping it up still with the homie Lillo Brancato. And when we left, we were getting ready to get into that night. Again, about a couple miles from here in 2005. So I'm going to give you the floor, Lillo. Talk about your state and where you was at and how that all transpired.
At that point in my life, I was a heroin addict. I was heavily addicted to crack cocaine. We couldn't get any heroin that night. I knew of a place in the Bronx that had pills, an apartment in the Bronx, a guy that I knew from my first love, the little kid from the Bronx Tale.
Yeah.
His sister was my first love, and they lived next door to a Vietnam veteran, and I know he always had pills, and he would give them to me as a kid. Let me, I'd walk in his apartment in the middle of the night, and desperate times call for desperate measures. I was trying to get the guy's attention. He didn't answer, so I broke the window, looking to go inside. I was with the girlfriend of the present time at that time, father. I was walking away from the window. Someone came out of the house next door, the basement apartment. He said, "Don't move." I moved. I turned around. I mean, that's a natural reaction.
Reflex, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I moved, and when I moved, I was shot. I was shot 3 times. And I just couldn't believe what happened. So I remember holding my stomach. I remember seeing blood squirt out of my stomach. And, I didn't have a gun or anything, so I'm not going to lie, I was afraid.
Yeah.
So I looked to, get out of there. And as I was walking, I was like not running, but not walking. I was trying to get out of there as fast as possible in the condition that I was in. And when I was leaving is when I heard more gunshots. And, it turned out that the guy I was with, his name was Steven. He was shot 9 times. And He shot the, who later on we later found out was a New York City police officer.
Right.
Shot him once in the heart, the .357 Magnum, and he killed him. He was pronounced dead on the scene about 45 minutes later. And, we were rushed to the hospital after that. Emergency surgery, had my spleen removed, part of my colon. I was on life support. And it was a couple of days later when I came out of it, I remember one of the doctors came over to my bed. And I remember I was handcuffed to the bed. And, I was just like barely coming out of it. And the guy's shaking me. And he's like, hey, look. And he's got the newspaper. He's like, hey, look, you proud of yourself?
Wow.
I said, you and your boy just killed a cop. I said, oh, my God.
Yeah.
It's, cop, a human being is a human being,
Of course.
And I was like, wow, I couldn't believe all that. Because, I was walking away. I didn't see what happened.
Right. And you was
trying to get away.
was driving. And,
right.
Right.
But, and with that being said, by no means, I take full responsibility how my actions, my drug addiction contributed to the death of that heroic police officer.
Right.
Not a day goes by I don't think about that night and how I wish I could change it and bring him back. But in life, like I explained earlier, you can't do that.
Right.
You learn from the past, you don't dwell in it, and you hope to, use the past and make better decisions in the future, which I am doing.
Right.
But then it was a long ride after that. We sent to Rikers Island. I was charged with murder in the second degree, felony murder. I was still heavily addicted to drugs. The whole year 2005, the end of 2005, 2006, I was still getting drugs in Rikers Island. I was taking morphine. I was sniffing heroin. And on November 12, 2006, I overdosed in my cell. Still continued to use after that. There was New York City police detectives. They taped the crime scene. My cell was taped off. It was a crime scene. I mean, there was a lot of heat. And, the disease is so powerful, I still continue to use. I still found the heroin, and I didn't care. I was facing all this time in segregation. I didn't care. And
Did you think sometimes it's like, is it what I was at and where I'm at now, is it just worth even living? Did that ever come to your process about, why?
You know what? No. You know why? Because I had the drugs. And the drugs kind of buffered those feelings. And it kind of but I just knew. I had an attorney visit when I was in the box. I did, they did find, they gave me a urinalysis. I was found positive for opiates. I did 80 days in segregation. I remember when I was there, my friend and my cousin, who both happened to be attorneys, came to see me on an attorney visit. And I remember that visit when they came to see me, it changed my life. I was happy to see them, and they weren't happy to see me. And they said, you got all these people.
Being in Rikers, they put you as a cop killer or accessory to it. How was you treated by the other correction officers? Did they treat you any differently than?
Not really. Corrections, Department of Corrections, they're different from the cops.
Right.
I didn't really necessarily didn't like one another.
Right.
So it's not to say they didn't care.
No, I understand.
But COs are COs and cops are cops. I mean, it's like everything else and anything else. You get good ones and you get bad ones.
Right. Exactly. We're talking to Lillo Brancato again, the time spent in jail. While in prison, eventually, through all the overdose and negative, you start to turn it around a little bit.
Right. I just decided one day, November 18th, 2006, last week, I celebrated 10 years that I'm sober. Thank you. Thank you. I knew that I had, I had a tough road ahead of me. I knew that I had to fight a murder case.
Right.
And I had to make things right. I didn't, and I still don't think I should have. I deserved to go away from murder.
Right.
I just, I don't.
And you was also sick. We treat other sicknesses like if you had cancer or something else, you were sick. It was. The drugs had you in a state that you wasn't your normal self.
Right. You make decisions that you would never make if you were, sober and normal, But, I got off the drugs. I learned a lot about the law and the charges that I was up against just to help my lawyer help me. Finally, in 2008, November of 2008, I finally went to trial. It was a month-long trial. I was acquitted of all the top charges, the murder 2, the 2 counts of burglary, 1, and then 1 count of attempted burglary, 1, but then they found me guilty of attempted burglary in the first degree with serious physical injury to a non-participant. Came back a few weeks later. the sentencing guideline for that particular conviction was 3.5 to 15 years. Judge gave me 10. Serving 3 already.
Right.
I had to go upstate and do 5.5. And, I knew at that, because I had the mindset that I was going away forever.
Right.
So when I knew it was 5.5 more years, I was fine with it.
Yeah,
Believe
exactly.
me, I was
Piece of
fine.
cake.
Yeah, And I said to myself, I got to use this time wisely.
Right.
God put this in front of me. Like I want to write a book one day.
Yes.
And it's
Ken Trump
recognizing God's signs the right way. He puts signs out there all the time. It's all about if you're going to recognize them in the right way.
Right.
And I recognized that sign in the right way. I could have went home December 22nd, 2008 and beat trial. But you know what? I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Because I know if I would have went home, I
You
would have
right
been on
back to the
every
same thing.
TV
Yeah.
actor acquitted of murder and all,
Yeah.
It was right before Christmas. I would have started drinking again.
Right.
And before you
Right.
know it, I would have, been right back in this, same
situation,
thing.
maybe.
So God says, Lillo, you're not ready. You're going to go upstate for, this amount of time. When I went upstate, still continued to remain sober. I didn't have a high school diploma. And that's one of the things that they offered while I was up there, the GED.
Right.
So I jumped on that chance.
Nice.
I got my GED right away. And, I figured I still have a lot of time left. So it makes sense. It makes sense to pursue my education and but they don't offer that in New York State. They don't offer college. So what I did was I did my research, and I found a school in Norcross, Georgia, the Ashworth College. It met
Online school.
right.
Yeah.
No, not online.
Okay.
Because we didn't have access to computers.
Right. Okay.
I needed one that first of all, I didn't want a certificate. I want a degree.
Full Reg.
Okay,
Right.
I want a degree. I needed one that did the mail correspondence with no computer access necessary.
it.
So that's when I found they fit the criteria, Ashworth, and then I started going to school. I majored in business management.
Nice.
And I would get the workbooks and the textbooks, and just do my lessons.
Right.
And then I would send in the Scantrons. They would grade them, and my mom was paying for the school at my home address.
Right.
So she would tell me on the phone, you got back, your thing for this, and
Right.
you got an 80 or whatever. Okay, so which ones did I get wrong?
Right.
Okay, why and what was the right answer? Because I'd have my book right there.
Right.
So then and I stuck with it. I earned my 60 credits, my associate's degree. As a result of that degree, I was eligible for a time cut, the LCTA, Limited Credit Time Allowance. I put in for it. My institutional record was good. I had, they didn't count what happened in Rikers, because if they did, I probably wouldn't have got the time cut.
Right.
But, I had one fight. I did some box time. There was no outside hospital thing.
Right.
So usually they don't take it as serious, So I put in. They told me, you got 6-month time cut. So I was supposed to go home July 1st, 2014. Instead, I went home New Year's Eve of 2013.
Wow.
So this New Year's Eve will be 3 years that I'm home.
God bless. Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, is it safe to say, through this journey of nobody wants to go to jail, and obviously what happened, you're feeling that every day. But would you say that prison saved your life?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Like a lot of my friends died from drug addiction, like at least 12 guys I know. So when you see that kind of stuff happen, you look at prison as a good thing.
Yeah.
You look at that as that was a sign from God saying, I'm going to take mercy on you, and I'm not going to put you with your friends because I got something planned for you.
Right.
You're going to use this situation, and you're going to help other people. You're going to do my work.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to live that out every day and use that experience. And, any opportunity I get to go and share my experience with others, like the other day I was at the Integrity House in Newark, New Jersey.
Right.
And every time I do that, and I tell the story in such a, it's a real story.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not like some drug counselor who never got high before and, learned about it in the books and, doesn't know what it's like to climb through a window when it's freezing out and your body's aching coming off the heroin.
Right.
When you're in the trenches and you can describe it and people can really feel it is when they take heed to it and they listen and they hang on your every word. And you make a difference. You make a difference because when it's all said and done, these kids come up to you. Thank you for coming. These are some real tough, hard kids.
Yeah.
And you reach them.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Because now, I look at them and I see their faces and they're just hanging on my every word.
Because they know what you went through, but also what you had.
Right.
So from that standpoint,
Right.
wow, this guy had it all, and but he's human, and he got
Exactly.
addicted.
We all are.
Yeah.
But the fact that they listened and they found it, they found it so helpful.
Right.
And just the look in their eyes, that every time I see that and able to have that opportunity, it provides an extra layer of strength for me, because now it's like, you know, I don't only think twice, but 3 times. Say if I ever get the urge and I want to go do something, you always think, oh, what about those kids at the Integrity House? They really look it up to me, man. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
So that, if you don't want to do it for yourself, you do it for them.
Do it for them.
So every time you do is that extra layer, and then you get so solid, you build such a foundation that there's no way they could break that, you know?
Do you keep yourself like busy? Because at times, you know, I have known people that, you know, been sober for years. They said when they not doing anything,
Right.
their minds start thinking about things. So is it very
Absolutely.
important for you to stay active?
Absolutely.
I mean, not just in the talk, but just in everything general.
Absolutely.
The gym, everything. I see in
I'm in the gym
pictures,
too, yeah.
you in the
Twice a
gym,
day.
everything.
Best
You
shape
ain't
of
have
my
to show
life.
your stomach or nothing, but still, you know, he like, he like, like, yeah, you know.
No, but I, you know, to me, it's a reminder of how hard I had to work and how good things come when you work hard and you stay on the right path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And thank God, you know, that, you know, I've had the opportunity, which is the most important thing, is to help others, because that's the real reason why God spared me and took mercy, like I explained. But, you know, let's face it, I have bills to pay, like everyone else does. So, you know, thank God I'm starting to once again get the opportunity to do what I love most. I was recently in a film, a Woody Allen film, with some really big names, and you know, it's a small part. But it's a small part in a big movie, and it's like a pinch hit in the World Series.
Yeah.
It's a start.
You know what I mean?
Starting place.
Don't call it a comeback.
Yeah,
Been here
you know,
for years.
so little by little, you know, and that was a great, you know, experience. Woody was great, and just, you know, working with one of the best. And
How has, I know we talked offline about, you know, your Bronx Tale co-star, Chaz Palminteri, where it hasn't always been smooth with some folks, but how has the Hollywood community or the people that you was, you know, that you was close with at one point, how have they taken back you now in the renaissance of Lillo?
It's gotten a lot better now. My manager posted a picture of me from the Woody Allen thing, and you know, he's a big name, my manager. He represents some big clients, and the people that follow him on Instagram are, you know, some, you know, big names in just in Hollywood in general. And there was a lot of nice comments and a lot of stuff like that. I was really happy to see that. And, you know, I guess from that, people would go on my page, and I'm all about positivity. You know, I could see if I've been home for 3 years, and you see me on the news, you know, drunk, you know, DWI, or acting like an idiot and doing knucklehead things, then you could say, you know what? They should have left that guy where they found him. They should have left him in there. You know, he doesn't. But, you know, I've shown people, I think, that, you know, I'm worthy of this second chance. And, you know, I'm starting to, you know, feel the love.
You can never knock.
It was
a
hard in
man.
the beginning.
Of course, it's human. You can never knock a man who admits his faults. If I come to you and say, you know I made a mistake, I'm accepting fault, I'm accepting responsibility, you know, what can you say? I mean, again, nobody feels what you feel. Like, people can talk and make comments, but you live with that, and you mentioned that you live with that every day. That's not something lightly. So, but you're doing the right things to make the rest of your life, 40 and beyond, better.
Our counselor wanted to say something to you. Go ahead, counselor.
I'm kind of like, who am I? Charles Oakley, whatever. I put the hammer down on people. That's not cool. But no, my question was, because I'm glad you brought it up, Kev, about Hollywood. You know, with names, they do a lot of stuff, and, you know, they're out there in the news in a negative way, and it's like Hollywood is its own club. And they say the yay and the nay of who they want back in and who they don't. And I wanted to piggyback on that. As you're trying to make your progression, like, are you really going hard to make a progression back to getting back into Hollywood, or it's more so like, you know what, if I get an opportunity or two, I'll take it, but my mindset is to kind of, you know, stay away a little bit, and, you know, I'll do more talking groups and focus and deal with people that have been in my situation.
It's a little balance, but I just believe that if I'm doing it's a balance, more so of doing the reach, you know, the inspirational speaking and talking to youths and you know, trying to deter them going down the path that I went down. But I just believe that if you do the right things, the opportunities will come. I don't think you have to worry that much about it. But, you know, if they don't come, you create your own. Because a lot of the stuff that I've done since I've, you know, been home, you know, I've done through myself, and I was able to do without my manager. And, you know, now with this social media, it's such a powerful medium, and reaching out people, like, cuts
That's
out
how
the
we connected.
cuts out the middleman, so you're able to do a lot. But the Woody Allen thing, that was an audition, taped audition. Woody saw, but it's, I mean, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Like my first audition home, when I first got home, like 2 weeks later, was American Sniper, and I got the role. I got the role. But parole wouldn't let me do it because at that point in time, I had to complete a 90-day intensive outpatient drug program. Right. And there was a few things I had to do. Yeah. I still have the voice message from my PO. His name was Dela Cruz. Great guy. He retired. He was such a great guy. And he's, wasn't, don't shoot the messenger. Yeah. He's like, Lillo, they're not going to approve it. Right. You got to go get your Medicaid card. You got to go finish the drug program. You got to put all these things in place. Yeah. They're not doing. You just came home. You're not going to Morocco. Right. And you know what? That was another sign. That was God saying, listen, I'm not showing you right now. Yeah. You still have what it takes to do this at this level, but I can't give it to you like I did the first time. Look what you did the first time when I gave it to you. Yeah, and
I'm a spoon feed it to you.
Right now, the work you didn't do the first time, you're going to do it now. Yeah. It's humbling, and it just makes you appreciate everything.
And
so much
it's
more.
important that every word that you say, you always put God first. That's very important because as you go on your journey, you're going to need somebody by your side. And people always say, I could do this on my own. No, you can't do it on your own.
No, you can't.
You need you need people to help you. But if you keep God, that number one person, ain't nothing you can't handle. And also, people see what you're doing. That's why I think you are going to be accepted, because you're a different person.
Right, and just remaining positive. You know what I mean? I'm a firm believer. The more you say, this is what I'm doing. We always use, I'm going to try and maybe one day. But I think when you just get in the mindset of saying, I'm back out there, I'm in movies, I'm doing this, all of that comes back to full tuition. You know what I mean? I think that, like Kevin said, you accepted your responsibility. It is what it is. You have a story. Now it's where I'm going and what I want to do from here. And I'm just going to ace it, and I'm going to go ahead and do it. Like you said, whether Hollywood takes it or not. Right now, no one is really even going to the movies like that. Everything is online, social media, YouTube, this, that, and the third. That's what people sit back and just watch movies online and just want to see things online. No one is rushing to the movie theaters anymore and really
don't say that
paying
to Lillo.
attention.
No, it's all right.
She's a bootlegger.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not
selling movies out of the trunk.
I'm recording this right now.
Tale number 6.
I'm just saying that the opportunities that everyone turned to, like, you gotta get to Hollywood, you gotta get to LA, and you gotta know these people, you gotta smooth to find in. Now it's so many different avenues that you can create your own lane and be just as big as some of the people that are doing it in LA, and everyone's coming now to New York and building a lot of movies and shows based in New York. And it's not the fact that there's more opportunities to create, to go down the avenue, of making movies and acting and producing and things like that you don't really need to turn to Hollywood and New York like we used to do, back in the 90s and the 2000s, because everyone is creating their own lane. So I think the lane is there for you to create. It's just saying, am I going to go hard and just getting back out there and letting people know, hey, I did what I did, but I'm still a great actor, and I'm here to take the storm by storm, because, like I said, you're not the first, and you're not going to be the last. Yeah. That's how I face this problem.
Ask Tar Bridges that question.
Yeah, you don't burn any bridges.
Right.
You leave. You never know when you're gonna have to cross that bridge.
Right, of course.
You just Hollywood's there. Try to they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and they're gonna think the way they're gonna think.
You got about 4 movies in 4 to 5 coming up. Fury of the Dragon, DOA, Blood River, Monsters of Mulberry. So 2017 is going to be the comeback.
Yeah. It's thank God. Yeah. Thank God for these opportunities. Thank God. You give the people willing to give me a second chance, right. And look past all of and you got to give these people credit. Yeah. People like my friend William DeMeo, Frankie Montero, Eric Rivas. These guys, of course, they're going to get, this backlash. My friend William DeMeo, this guy, he's got a lot of friends that are, members of the New York Police Department. Right. And, he had to hear a lot about, the fact that he casted me, but he didn't care. He said, you're my friend. I see you're a different guy, and I want to give you the shot. But, not everyone's like that.
Right.
And when they're not like that, you can't take it personal.
Right.
Because business is business.
Right.
Yeah. Why am I going to put you in this?
And deal with that backlash.
You were in prison for 8 years. Mm-hmm. I've been making movies for those 8 years. Everything's going smooth. Yeah. Why am I going to put you in this movie?
I thought
That's what a lot of people think. And you know what? You say, you know what? That's business.
I thought you were going to say Frankie Fish, you know, Vinny Black, Joey the Garbage Man, you know.
That's Sopranos. Benny Bacalao.
I'm just glad you found a niche that you're comfortable in and you're moving in so well that it makes you happy. And that's the best part of it. It's not, you're not like, yeah, I'm just doing this to doing this. When I look at you, you're saying God first, Lord first, but the smile and the confidence you have in your voice, it's like, wow, like this guy's really doing it. Like it's an inspiration to myself to sit here and say, you know, maybe I'll change a few things here and there. If he could change it, I definitely could change it. So I want to thank you for that. Just the way you're moving in your mindset is just a beautiful thing, bro.
Thank you.
You touched him.
We're going to wrap this up. And I can't say enough. I've been trying to get you for a while, and I'm glad we finally made it work. I want to thank you for coming on. First 40 is complete, and you're on the right track, but obviously nobody has to tell you that being an addict is always an addict. So every day is still a winding road. What's the future for Lillo? You're back in movies. You're on the right path. We're going to all pray you stay on the right path. I know that's what we're all rooting for. But what's the future? Give me the 10-year plan on yourself and how you want to affect others.
You know, I just want to continue to be a good influence and a role model, and just to stay on this path where people can use me and look at me and say, well, this guy, you know, he definitely seen some really dark days in his life, but he's overcome them. And just like you said, and, you know, you can just, you know, if I did it, you can do it also. And that's what I want to continue to do, is inspire people. I have a beautiful girlfriend. Her name is Christina. We met on Instagram when I was inside. My friend started a page for me.
Wow.
When I came out, she moved from the West Coast to live with me. I had nothing, and she really held me down. And you know,
Rodeo must have sent a picture.
I know. I want to say something. Did you give her that test?
well, you know what? It's hard.
I know it's
because
hard
you
for
got
these
the
new
alarm.
cars. I know.
Everything.
I know.
No. I'm gonna tell you right now. I do that test on a regular basis. I base every single date I go on that test. And I'll tell you how you do. Open the door for her. You close the door, and you just take a long walk around the back of the car. If she does not lean over and open that door.
Or hit the power lock.
No. And open that door for you.
You got power
When
lock.
I get in the car, I say, you just failed the best test in the world. She's like, what do you mean? I said, have you ever seen Bronx Tale? Oh, but I'm saying, like, nope. At that point, you're done.
Sorry.
Goodbye.
Well, you know what it
dropped
is?
you off at home.
What, the little thing like that, if somebody's not going to do that, basically what that is an extension of what they are. You couldn't even open the door. So think about if it comes to something really big.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's when you just cut them immediately, fellas. That's the ultimate test right there.
Lillo, give us your social media. People can reach out to you.
It's Lillo_Brancato. LILLO_BRANCATO. Thank you guys for this opportunity.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Happy holidays to
Same to you and your families.
And
Thank
we
you.
will definitely keep you in the loop. And let's get you back on real soon, man.
Definitely. Absolutely.
When you win that
Love to
Cammy
come
Award,
back.
just say shout out to 950 Lounge.
Lillo Brancato Jr. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to keep it moving. It's 950 Lounge live on the Saturday. Come on.